The events in Bangladesh on July 29, 2024, which was a pivotal day during what came to be known as the July Revolution, or the Student People's Uprising. Here's a breakdown of the key happenings. Escalation of protests and mass arrests. After the government ignored their ultimatum to release arrested leaders and address their demands, large-scale protests and gatherings resumed across Bangladesh on July 29th. These demonstrations weren't confined to Dhaka. They spread to other major cities and university campuses like Chittagong, Rajshahi, Thakurgaon, Mymensingh, Comilla, and Janjirnagar University. In Dhaka alone, police arrested 2,822 students, and countless other protesters were detained in various regions, including at least 10 in Chittagong. This widespread crackdown marked a significant escalation of the government's attempts to quell the unrest. Teachers' solidarity in July Massacre Declaration. University professors from across Bangladesh united under the banner of the Anti-Repression Teachers' Rally. They unequivocally called for an end to the harassment and mass arrests of students, demanding the immediate release of all detained individuals. Their strong stance showed solidarity with the ongoing student movement. A massive rally was held at Aparajio Bungla at Dhaka University, where a moment of silence was observed for the students killed during the quota reform movement. In a powerful statement, the teachers publicly declared these killings a July massacre, further intensifying pressure on the government's response and controversial mourning. In a cabinet meeting chaired by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on July 29th, the government announced a nationwide mourning on July 30th to honor those killed during the quota reform movement. While government and Awami League leaders began using black profile pictures on social media to signify this mourning, many Bangladeshis and protesters retaliated by changing their profile pictures to red. They rejected the official mourning as a farce, demanding justice for the deceased students and refusing to observe a period of grief without accountability. This act highlighted the deep distrust and anger many citizens harbored towards the government. Social media restoration. After being shut down for 13 days as part of the government's attempt to control information and communication, social media platforms like Facebook and WhatsApp were finally reopened on July 29th, while this prolonged internet blackout somewhat hindered the movement's momentum. It ultimately fueled greater resentment against the government among the general public. Shift in demands, calls for PM's resignation. What began as a movement primarily focused on quota reform fundamentally shifted its focus on July 29th. Protesters were no longer just demanding changes to the quota system. They explicitly and loudly called for Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to step down. This transformed the movement from a specific grievance-based protest into a full-fledged anti-government uprising. Widespread violence and casualties. The period leading up to and including July 29th was marked by widespread violence across the country. Numerous reports emerged of hundreds killed and thousands injured in clashes between protesters and law enforcement, who were often supported by pro-government student groups like the Chhatra League. This period of violence was one of the bloodiest under Sheikh Hasina's 15-year rule. International concern. The government's heavy-handed response to the protests drew significant concern from the international community. Human rights organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch urged an end to the repression and closely monitored the escalating situation. In essence, July 29, 2024 was a landmark day in Bangladeshi history. It saw the student people's movement gain new momentum, characterized by unwavering public determination despite severe government repression. Mass arrests, strong solidarity from teachers, and a crucial shift in demands, pushing towards a full-scale pro-democracy uprising that eventually contributed to the fall of the government.